Have you ever heard the phrase 6 feet under before? Maybe you are in a common discussion with your friend. Then he comes like, I will bury that dude 6 feet under. The phrase 6 feet under is so common that it has become synonymous with death. It's often used in movies, literature, and in everyday conversations like was just explained. It's like a poetic euphemism for being buried after passing away. Ever wonder why 6 feet under became the unofficial catchphrase for burials? Believe it or not, we can thank 17th century England and a whole lot of plague-induced panic for that morbid little tradition. Let's dig into how this standard got started, why it stuck around, and why modern burials are moving in a different direction. Let's start from the very beginning, 1665. The plague spread from a bite caused by a black rat flea that carried the Yersinia pestis bacteria. It killed 68,595 people in London that year. The true figure is probably nearer 100,000 or 1/5 of the city's population. People were terrified, and rumors were flying faster than TikTok trends. Nobody really understood how diseases spread, but they did know one thing. Decaying bodies smelled awful and probably weren't great for public health. So, the authorities had to step in. They came up with a bold plan to calm the masses and deal with the rising body count. All graves must be dug at least 6 feet deep. The trick about this logic is that burying bodies deeper would supposedly trap the smell of decay and keep scavenger animals from digging up a grim buffet. Honestly, it was less about science and more about, let's just make a rule and hope for the best. Like most things from the British Isles, the 6-foot rule eventually made its way across the pond and influenced burial customs in the United States and beyond. But time went, and people became more than usual. Digging a 6-foot grave wasn't exactly a walk in the park. Gravediggers armed with shovels and sheer determination had to battle rocky soil, high water tables, and, let's face it, sheer exhaustion. So while 6 feet might have been the goal, it wasn't always practical. Grave depths often depended on soil conditions and whether the poor guy with the shovel still had the stamina to keep going. Let's go back to today. Digging graves 6 feet deep is pretty rare. In fact, modern cemeteries typically bury remains at depths closer to 4 feet or even less. Here are a few reasons why this change had to happen. 1. Space issues. Urban cemeteries are running out of room faster than concert tickets sell out. Land is expensive, and cemeteries need to maximize every inch. People go asking for the price of the space, and you will hear a price that makes you shiver. This was a big issue, but if we look at the shallow graves, it makes better use of limited space. It could even be possible to use double-depth graves, stacking one casket on top of another with a concrete slab in between. It's more efficient and great. 2. Going green. The growing trend of eco-friendly burials is a more natural and environmentally conscious way to handle human remains. Today, burials often involve fancy coffins and embalming fluids, which tells us how rich the family members are. But this isn't great for the environment. So, people are choosing biodegradable materials and natural burials, where the body is placed directly into the ground to decompose naturally. Shallower graves are preferred for these burials because they allow more oxygen into the soil, which speeds up decomposition and supports natural processes. It aligns with the circle of life concept, where death contributes to new life in nature. Though not everyone goes with this plan, but it's all choices. 3. Decomposition science. I think I already mentioned this before, but let me fully delve into it. It turns out burial depth affects how a body breaks down. At 6 feet, there's not much oxygen, which slows decomposition down to a crawl. Shallower graves, on the other hand, allow for more oxygen and microbial activity, which speeds things up. 4. Green burials. This is actually a good thing, returning to the earth faster and more naturally. Contrary to popular belief, there's no federal law in the U.S., England, or other countries that start stuffs and says graves have to be 6 feet deep. Regulations vary by state, municipality, and cemetery operator. In many places, 3 to 4 feet is perfectly sufficient to keep scavengers out and prevent any unpleasant odors. Cremation is also on the rise because it's cost-effective, space-efficient, and lets families get creative with their loved ones' remains. People are still searching for unconventional options like burial at sea, composting remains, and even turning ashes into diamonds. Despite all these changes, the phrase 6 feet under still sticks in our collective imagination. It's become a cultural staple in movies, TV shows, and even casual conversations. If I miss this deadline, my boss will put me 6 feet under. People assume it's some sort of legal requirement, but it's not. And those old fears about animals digging up graves? Yeah, that's not really a thing anymore. Modern cemeteries are well maintained, and burial vaults have made it nearly impossible for scavengers to crash the party. In the end, the shift away from 6-foot burials reflects a broader trend toward more thoughtful, personalized, and eco-friendly ways to say goodbye. Families today are all about customization. Whether it's choosing a natural cemetery surrounded by wildflowers, scattering ashes in a favorite location, or even creating digital memorials with QR codes on headstones, which is quite fancy. So while 6 feet under might still be a spooky metaphor, it's no longer a literal requirement. Burial practices have evolved to balance tradition with practicality and environmental awareness. The next time you hear someone mention 6 feet under, you'll have the inside scoop on why that rule isn't really a thing anymore, and why it was kind of a wild idea in the first place. Thanks for digging into this topic with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more beneficial insights and questions. We got other interesting content for you. Please click the left or right video and enjoy.